If our guests could clear the chamber, please, and members and our Senate guests could take their seats. We'll begin the joint convention in 5 minutes or so after some brief introductions. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our governor of our great state of Indiana, Governor Eric Holcomb. Governor. His partner and our former colleague here in the House, and now the President of the Senate, Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. The President pro tempore of the Indiana Senate, Senator David Long. David. Senator Landon will be escorting the Chief Justice, so we'll introduce him in a moment. Our colleagues here in the House Minority Leader Scott Pelath. I don't write the script, I only read it, and you're the only individual listed to be introduced, so all the rest of y'all, we know who you are and we love you. And let's give you a round of applause. We have 70 trial court judges from around the state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here. We have former justices of the Supreme Court, Justice Brent Dixon, Justice Frank Sullivan Jr., and former Chief Justice Randall Shepard. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. The Chief Justice has some of her family members with her today that we'd like to recognize. Her husband, Jim Rush, her son, Luke Rush, and the sister of Chief Justice Rush, Helena Bishop. Thank you for being here. We have our statewide elected officials, Curtis Hill, our Attorney General, Jennifer McCormick, our new Superintendent of Public Instruction. Connie Lawson, our Secretary of State. And Tara Klutz, the Auditor of State. Because we never get these introductions in, because it's always over applause, I'm going to announce who will be escorting the Chief Justice before she enters. The Chief Justice will be escorted by Senators Bray, Glick, Lannon, and Talion, and Representatives Zimke, McNamara, Delaney, and Hatfield. She's also joined by her Supreme Court colleagues, Justices Rucker, David, Massa, and Slaughter, and Court of Appeals Judges Nancy Vadick, Baker, Najam, Riley, Kirsch, Melissa May, Judge Mathias, Barnes, Crone, Bradford, Brown, Pyle, Altice, and the tax court judge, Martha Blood Wentworth. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chief Justice of the Indiana State Supreme Court, Justice Loretta Rush. Did I miss it? Shit. No, I was supposed to introduce all of those. Speaker Bosma continues. After they're in here, then I introduce you. Yes, everyone is different. just put this down. Don't trip over it. It'll make you very tall, but Loretta wants it. Okay? You see it? Step. Be careful. I know, me too. For purposes of convening a joint session of the Indiana General Assembly, I give you Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch.
Thank you. Members of the Joint Assembly, pursuant to Section 3 of Article 7 of the Constitution of the State of Indiana, this joint session of the two houses of the Indiana General Assembly is now convened for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of Indiana. It is my privilege to present to you the distinguished Chief Justice of Indiana, the Honorable Loretta Rush.
Governor Holcomb, Lieutenant Governor Crouch, members of the General Assembly, colleagues on the bench, family and friends, welcome to the 2017 State of the Judiciary. It's always a privilege to join the leadership of our executive and legislative branches in this magnificent chambers. A new year is a fitting time for the judicial branch to renew our pledge to work on behalf of all Hoosiers. As Chief Justice of Indiana, it's my duty to report to you on the condition of Indiana's courts, my third such address. Our courts carry out our constitutional mission in the 1,396,362 cases that came before us last year. But we do not fulfill that mission alone. We owe our success to many partners in justice, the focus of today's address. But first, I'm pleased to introduce you to our newest justice, Jeffrey Slaughter. You might assume that being appointed to the court in June was the highlight of 2016 for him, and it was, until November 3rd at 1:30 a.m., 39,466 days of misery ended. Stop by Justice Slaughter's chambers and he will gladly share in a play-by-play detail of every moment of the Cubs' historic win. Congratulations, Jeff, on both counts. We now turn our attention from the newest member of our court to our longest serving. In 1964, while working at a Lake County steel mill, a Gary Roosevelt High School graduate began studies at Indiana University Northwest. He was called away from his undergraduate days to serve our country in Vietnam, where as a member of the Army 1st Air Cavalry Division, he fought to relieve Marines who were under siege at Khe Sanh. He was later awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star for his heroism. Returning from service, he graduated from Valparaiso Law School and began his legal career as a deputy prosecutor, then worked as a city attorney, and then a private practice attorney, before being appointed to the Court of Appeals in 1991 and the Supreme Court in 1999. Yes, I am talking about Justice Robert D. Rucker. Justice Rucker has written 1,235 legal opinions, opinions that are being read in courthouses across the country, including one special courthouse in Lake County, named in his honor. His body of work stands as a powerful illustration of the guidance courts provide to the peaceful resolution of disputes encompassing nearly every facet of Hoosier life. His opinion in Engelmeyer versus State, which has been cited nearly 7,000 times throughout the country, brought clarity to Indiana's sentencing laws in a time of great upheaval. Justice Rucker's opinions have enforced core constitutional values such as preserving family integrity and community and ensuring access to justice for people with limited English proficiency. Justice Rucker is one of Indiana's few members of the American Law Institute, one of the nation's most influential group of legal scholars. His contributions to Indiana's jurisprudence are remarkable. His legal scholarship is innovative and insightful in applying the constitutional values he has sworn to uphold. Justice Rucker, perhaps most importantly, has always had the courage and the fortitude to protect the rights of all, regardless of their state in life. He has the ability to stand in the shoes of any person and understand their plight. In a word, he has a tremendous sense of humanity. Justice Rucker, could you join me on the podium? Your Indiana Supreme Court will be returning to Gary Roosevelt High School this March 9th this year to hear one of Justice Rucker's final oral arguments. Our colleague and friend is retiring after 26 years of distinguished service. 31 appellate judges have had the privilege and honor to serve with this brilliant, collegial, and humble public servant. He has made all of us better. Please join me and Justices David Maslin Slaughter in thanking Justice Robert D. Rucker for his long, faithful, and conscientious service to the people of Indiana. Thank you, my friend. He's something. Now I'd like to briefly report on the progress of several previously announced initiatives. Our commercial courts are already hearing dozens of complex business litigation cases in the 6 pilot sites serving companies throughout our state. We completed an exhaustive reorganization of judicial branch administrative services. Part of that process was a nationwide search for a chief administrative officer, a church that led us just 50 miles away to Newcastle. Please welcome Judge Mary Willis as our first CAO. Mary, could you stand? We have continued to make our commitment to make dedicated veterans courts available to all qualified service members. Soon, 6 new veterans courts will join our existing 19 ones. Overall, 82 such problem-solving courts that are addressing substance abuse, mental health, violence, and reentry issues will be in Indiana. Finally, we welcome Marion County Small Claims Court judges as full-time judicial officers under the Judicial Code of Conduct and sharing in our technology and judicial education program. We're pleased to have them here today. Could you stand, Marion County Small Claims judges? You look great. This past year, your judiciary has made progress every day to make practical improvements to the courts, and we have not done it alone. Running Indiana's courts requires the hearts and hands of men and women in all 92 counties. These partners in justice are often overlooked, but not today. Dozens of judges from across the state are here to show their gratitude for the hard work of these partners. Who are these partners? They are our clerks, our support staff, public defenders, prosecutors, probation officers, volunteers, advocates, law enforcement, service providers, mentors, educators, community corrections, child services employees, local government officials, attorneys, and others. Please direct your attention to the balcony in the North Gallery. You'll see some of these partners that are essential to justice in our state. For the rest of this address, I'd like to take you on a statewide tour highlighting their vital contributions in 3 major and ongoing judicial branch initiatives. First, adopting modern technology to revolutionize our court system. Second, ensuring public safety to complement your important criminal code reforms. And finally, supporting and strengthening Hoosier families in need. What better place to start than with our constitutional partners, the clerks. Above Clerk Christine Urton's door in the Floyd County Courthouse is a saying, "Justice begins at the clerk's office." And how right they are. Clerks, along with court staff, are playing a critical role in our judicial branch's modernization efforts. Hamilton County Clerk Tammy Bates and Chief Deputy Deb LePere are pioneers of our electronic filing system, which streamlines the legal process and saves time and money. After successfully implementing e-filing in Hamilton County, they graciously host and train many of our judges, clerks, and support staff from around the state. Our state began electronic filing in July 2015 with the goal of improved efficiency and accessibility to our courts. In just 18 months, we've expanded this technology to over 25% of counties, totaling 30,000 filings each week. This number will continue to grow as the system is deployed statewide within the next year. Tammy, Deb, and all the clerks that are here today, could you stand? We could not have tackled this needed reform without the perseverance and grit of all of you. Thank you very much. As Tippecanoe County Clerk Krista Coffey is clearing out rooms of paper in her own county, she's helping us determine what documents should be made available online. Clerk Coffey and Henry County Clerk Deborah Walker are representatives of the Advisory Task Force on Remote Access and Privacy of Electronic Court Records. Our partners serving on this task force included several of you, the Hoosier State Press Association, ACLU, law professors, and other citizens. With valuable input from this diverse group, we are looking forward to their continued thoughtful analysis as we balance privacy and access. Thank you. Law enforcement is certainly one of our vital partners in the implementation of criminal justice reform. It is my high honor as Chief Justice to administer the oath each year to the new Indiana State Police Troopers. I make it a point to sit down individually with each of them, and in doing so, I can't help but think of all the challenges that lie ahead for them. They are on the front lines dealing with problems that make our way into our courtrooms, such as drug overdoses, domestic violence, and children in crisis. Wayne County Judge Dolahanty refers to his local sheriff, Jeff Kappa, as a hero in the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, otherwise known as JDAI. This program's objective is to keep communities safe while reducing childhood incarcerations. It's well documented that many people, including children with mental health issues, end up in detention due to lack of treatment options. In one case, a child with mental health issues was becoming increasingly aggressive and the family was struggling, resulting in many officer visits to the home. Sheriff Kappa was instrumental in working with the courts and the child's family so that the child could receive much-needed mental health treatment instead of a juvenile jail cell. And JDI is working. Indiana has 32 JDI counties with initial reporting showing a 50% reduction in children being incarcerated, along with a corresponding 45% reduction in felony arrests. Naturally, these reductions have resulted in significant dollar savings, both to the individual counties and the state. Only the many JDI partnerships, including those with law enforcement, make this possible. Thank you, Sheriff Kappa. Of course, we are not confining reform efforts to our children. We are undertaking a smart and intentional review of the overall fairness of court procedures that require monetary bail for low-risk offenders who do not exhibit a threat to public safety. 11 counties, Allen, Bartholomew, Grant, Hamilton, Hendricks, Jefferson, Monroe, Porter, St. Joseph, Stark, and Tipton have already assembled pilot teams that include prosecutors, public defenders, law enforcement officers, and elected officials. These teams are working together to find better ways to assure that low-risk offenders are attending their court hearings regardless of their family's ability to bail them out of jail. We are grateful for the hard work of these local teams who are providing data to create a framework for smarter and safer pretrial decision-making. Probation. Probation is under the direction of our trial court judges, and increased probation supervision is an important element of criminal justice reform. Miami County judges, Bonina, Grund, and Spar, depend on probation officers like Mandy Miller to diligently supervise offenders. Mandy and 5 other probation officers oversee more than 700 people that are on probation in their county. Sound overwhelming? Don't tell that to Mandy. She instituted what she calls a pink file, which includes those important tasks that she can't get to during the day. That pink file goes home with her at night because people are depending on her. Last year, Indiana had 1,300 probation officers supervising over 129,000 offenders, or in other words, 1 officer for every 100 offenders. Indiana courts depend on dedicated probation officers, and we are grateful for their critical and tireless work. Thank you, Mandy. Did you bring that pink folder here today? Courts implementing criminal justice reform require increased utilization of community-based corrections to help offenders succeed. Last year, over 35,000 offenders were placed on community corrections. Successful community placement cannot be achieved by government alone. Cannot be achieved by government alone. In Du Bois County, there's a special 79-year-old community corrections volunteer named Bob Volger. He's a civic-minded retiree who leads a partnership between local work release and a faith-based community called Churches Embracing Offenders. Bob's commitment to helping offenders reintegrate back into their community is about much more than finding them work. Bob leads 100 volunteers from 8 churches that are focused on the spiritual and emotional well-being of the offenders in the program. He hosts a monthly Wednesday night meal, meets and prays with his clients, and donates time to making their lives better. Yes, your judiciary depends on volunteers like Bob. Bob, could you stand? We need more of you. Healthy families represent the foundation of every society. But sadly, that is not the case for thousands of Hoosiers that are appearing before us in court and in crisis. Our partners are making a difference to help those in need find a better path. Modern challenges do not weaken the Indiana Constitution's mandate that justice be administered freely, completely, and without delay. To the contrary, that mandate is more urgent now than ever. I doubt you would be surprised to know that those guiding words from the Indiana Constitution hang in the law library down the hall. You may not know that our library's collection also includes Indiana's 1853 legislative enactments, written not only in English, but also in German, as that was the native tongue for many Hoosiers at that time. Interestingly, our leaders also had the 1851 Constitution printed in German, as well as English. Today, the vast majority of cases involve English-speaking litigants, but we did have over 14,000 cases last year where a person appeared in court with limited to no English proficiency or was deaf or hearing impaired. Marion County Prosecutor Terry Curry recognized this problem and did something about it. He appointed Deputy Prosecutor Loon Piper as a Burmese outreach director in his office and calls her an invaluable asset in working with our Burmese population. As an immigrant who once lived under a military dictatorship where there were no jury trials or plea agreements, Loon brings more than bilingual skills to the courtroom. She understands her clients' day-to-day challenges and works with families on victim impact panels and crime prevention. Thank you, Loon and Prosecutor Curry. Like Loon, South Bend attorney Mark Torma is helping families, specifically those who are trying to navigate the court system without the aid of an attorney. The path to truth and justice can be very difficult for them, which is why volunteer lawyers like Mark are so crucial to fair access to the courts. Many court cases are not constitutional issues or complex business litigation issues. They are everyday matters. Mark recently helped a family avoid a housing crisis by resolving a $200 utility bill dispute. This may not seem like much, but it can be devastating to a family living paycheck to paycheck. This past year, the court created a coalition for court access to find solutions to pressing needs like these everyday disputes. We thank Mark, the coalition, and the 7,200 Hoosier attorneys who donated more than 250,000 volunteer hours to Hoosiers in need last year. Thank you, Mark. Every day, judges struggle to find safe homes for children. Last year, they succeeded in changing the lives of almost 4,000 Hoosier children by issuing adoption decrees, thereby giving these children a stable, forever home. Our judiciary joins in your commitment to have Indiana shine as the most adoptive-friendly state in the country. Adoption Day is celebrated across the state with community partners like Great Kids Make Great Communities in Allen County. Judge Pratt depends on his family court administrator, Nancy Springer, to coordinate their Adoption Day festivities. To promote adoptions, Nancy channeled her inner MTV spirit to help create Allen County's own music video that tells the story of an adoption. Capturing the smiling faces of these children is one of the happiest days of the year in court. Nancy and coordinators like her who help children find a home deserve our thanks. Thank you, Nancy. In stark contrast, last year, almost 18,000 children entered the child welfare system, a 23% increase in what we call CHINS cases, or Child in Need of Services cases. And to be clear, these are not cases of juvenile delinquency where the child has broken the law. These are cases of abuse and neglect, where a child's parent has been dealing meth or is in jail for battery, or with frightening frequency, where an innocent baby is brought into the world addicted to drugs. The courts could not help these children without dedicated partners. One of these partners is Tippecanoe County Prosecutor Pat Harrington, who is confronting a terrible reality, children in his community that have been sexually trafficked. Prosecutor Harrington attended a national summit and came back inspired to make real change. He is partnering with the faith community in establishing a residential shelter to help these children heal. His innovative approach is possible thanks in part to your legislation that ensures these children are part of the child welfare system and not treated as criminal cases. Thank you, Prosecutor Harrington and lawmakers. Praise also goes to our 3,400 court-appointed special advocates, CASAs. CASAs serve as frontline advocates for thousands of children who need a voice in court. Judge Galvin of Monroe County turned to CASA Gary Friedman to be that voice for an 18-year-old girl named Katie. Katie began life in need of a liver transplant and with birth parents who could not care for her. Thanks to Gary and Katie's adoptive parents, Mark and Donna Kingsbury, Katie now focuses on very important issues, 8-year-old issues like drawing and swimming. Katie, could you introduce us to your CASA and your mom and dad? While those judicial partners help children, others help Hoosiers later in life. For example, Owen County's Volunteer Guardianship Program, one of 29 across the state, serves vulnerable seniors. Judge Larry Quillen knows this program is crucial to preserving the well-being of seniors in need, seniors like 68-year-old Sue. Sue suffered a stroke, leaving her unable to care for herself, and if that wasn't enough, family members were stealing money and medications. Then Donovan was appointed her guardian to ensure that her final days on earth were spent in the safety of her home, complete with assisted care, occupational therapy, and delivered meals. Heather, we applaud your service. This volunteer program was made possible in part because local banks identified a need to prevent elderly Hoosiers from having their savings looted by drug-seeking family members. Local banks, churches, and community organizations put up the seed money that was matched by the Supreme Court to start this program. In Judge Quillen's word, Owen County doesn't have a lot of money, but we are blessed with people who come together for the common good. This program is just 6 months old, and already it's a model for others. Yes, we are blessed in Indiana with many good people. Those we've highlighted today on this tour are just a small sample of the extraordinary work and heavy lifting done by our multitude of partners working for justice. There's one final partner to recognize today, and it's you, the dedicated members of the executive and legislative branches. On behalf of the judicial branch, I thank all of you for supporting the vision of an effective, efficient, and fair system of justice. Your partnership on these many initiatives illustrates your commitment to serving our citizens, and most of all, to your deep desire to ensure that the future is bright for all Hoosiers. Thank you, and may God richly bless this state we so love.
This session is now adjourned. Watch this.
The House will reconvene in 5 minutes.